A pleasant good evening. It's Friday evening, and you are welcome this evening to the class of steel. Today is Friday, the 28th of January, 2022. My goodness, time is flying fast, and the year is already jumping into the second month, the 28th of January, 2022. You're welcome to this evening's class. I want to welcome Her Excellency Doreen Barunji, our COO, and all of the management team. I also acknowledge the presence of His Royal Majesty King Edwin Madu, all other ambassadors in the house. A pleasant good evening to you. You are welcome to this evening's class. This evening's class is held by Her Excellency Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe, and her subject for this evening is the power of belief. Your Excellency, Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe, you are welcome.
Well, good evening, Your Excellency, Bishop Dr. Steele, to all the excellencies in the house. I bring you greetings on this Friday. And when I thought about what I wanted to share in the group this Friday, I thought about our discussion from last Friday. And unfortunately, I had to hop off, really, I thought, in the midst of some good discussion about the topic, as I was really talking about how to manifest you in 2022. And some of the questions that I was being asked just as I had to hop off really focused on attitude and belief, and how do you really change someone's mindset. And I hated that I had to get off at that moment, and because I felt that I left those questions unanswered fully, that we really didn't get to fully discuss them. I don't know how much you discussed once I hopped off. I did have, and we talked a bit about this even more, because when I hopped off, I talked to a group of women, a women's mastermind group in Ghana. And some of the same kinds of questions came up when I was sharing with that group as to how, as women leaders, as women entrepreneurs, as women faith leaders, how they could really get beyond those blockages, whether real or imagined, that were keeping them from really manifesting their destiny. So I thought about what I wanted to talk to you about, and what I wanted to continue from our discussion last week, and it goes back to the power of beliefs. If I would go around and ask everyone in the circle about your beliefs, and your beliefs about yourself, your possibilities, you'll find that a lot of things that you would share with me, probably 70-80% of them are imagined and not really real. They are things that have been placed in your mind, in your spirit, either as a result of experiences or as a result of comments that people have said. And these things that you have brought along with you as you journey through life. And what you will find is, not only beliefs are important for you as an individual, but they are quite important for you as a leader. Because remember, I have shared with you many times, although people tend to get this a bit twisted, is that you lead people and you manage processes. But people often say, well, when they think about their team or they're managing, and no matter what setting, they always say, well, I manage 10 people. No, you might manage 10 processes, but really what real leaders do is they lead people. But the hardest person to lead, first and foremost, is ourselves. And our leadership capacity, our ability to lead a team is linked to our belief systems, our core values. And so the more and more you get to know yourself and understand yourself and accept yourself as a leader, many times people, when they're thinking about leading, no matter in what sector, they're focused on learning the principles of leadership. They are thinking about, managing time, strategic plans. They're thinking about all of the tools. But leadership is really about engagement. It's really about influence. And if you can't influence yourself, and if you can't manage yourself, it makes it difficult for you to really manage someone else. So one of the most difficult things you are confronted with as a leader is being you. It takes courage to really be you, because many times when you look at the behaviors, you look at how other people carry themselves, we often believe that we have to emulate them, that we have to be just like them, that we somehow can't be our true self, that we somehow have to emulate the behaviors of someone else. And the conflicts, the ambivalence that we often face in our lives, whether in our personal lives or whether in our work lives, it comes from the fact that we are not in alignment ourselves. If we have ambivalence within our own selves and our own spirit, it makes it very difficult for us to be impactful. And most of us are very uncomfortable being our true selves. And when you look at this, it often relates to our belief systems and our thoughts about ourselves. Last Friday, one of the questions was about, what do you do? How, when you're trying to help someone, change them, how do you really do that? And much of it goes back to the belief system. We manifest what we believe, even if we don't really realize that that's what we're doing. So when leaders have difficulty managing a team, accomplishing the goals, is because in those quiet moments, they really have doubts about themselves, that they really are uncomfortable with themselves. And many times what's circling around in our minds is something someone said. Often in conversations that I have with people, when they start telling me about things, and we all have our memories, but when somebody is harping on something that happened 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, that person is stuck. Because if you are reliving the past over and over and over, excuse me, and you are not just merely learning from your past and growing from it, in some form or fashion, you're stuck. So that really makes it difficult for you to move forward, and it makes it difficult for you to lead others. So when you think about yourself, your vision, are you in alignment? Are your values, are your core values, are your beliefs, are your attitude, are they all aligned? Because if they are not, then you, as I said, in those quiet moments, you have creeping doubts about who you are, what you can be, and that makes it difficult for you to lead others. In this book, Unapologetically You, it talks about getting comfortable in your own skin and recognizing that just as unique as your DNA is, so is your personality. So are your possibilities. You've often heard me say in our circle that the only person when you look in the mirror that you should be competing with is the person that you were yesterday. You don't worry about who's looking in their mirror, what they're accomplishing. If you stay purposeful and focused on what you feel is your divine assignment, really, quite honestly, you're so busy, you don't have time to really worry about someone else. The only person you should compete with is yourself. And too often we're worrying and competing and trying to compete with someone else. We're worrying about what they're accomplishing, what they're doing, how they're affecting it, how they're affecting what they're doing. You're worrying about, well, when am I going to get my opportunity? Why hasn't this happened for me? Everything happens in its due season, and it happens for you as it should. If you look at this diagram and you see starting that everything kind of starts with your beliefs, because from your beliefs come your core values, and from your values that really becomes your attitude, and your attitude is reflected in your actions, it's reflected in your choices, in every aspect of your life. So you have to ask yourself each and every day, what do I believe about myself? What do I believe of my possibilities? What do I think? Because we manifest what we think about. And if you're thinking about negativity, if you're thinking about who did you wrong, if you're thinking about your losses, if you're focusing on this all the time, you don't really realize you're bringing that into your heart and your spirit, because that's what you're focusing in. That's that energy. So you look at this and you think about, what is my beliefs? How is that impacting, my values? How is that forming the attitude that I have? Do I have an optimistic attitude, or am I very pessimistic? What is it? And then how is that impacting my behavior? And how is this showing up in all areas of my life? And how, when I'm leading my team, no matter what sector you are involved with, what kinds of people you're leading. And you can often tell people then their belief systems by their behaviors in groups, in teams, in organizations. And it all starts with, what do I believe? I've had conversations with people and they're telling me things that happened when they were in elementary school. The teacher said they weren't good enough, they weren't smart enough. Or I've been in women's retreats and women would say, they used to pick on me about the way I looked, or the color of my skin, or my hair, or they told me I was this, I was that. And just because somebody says something doesn't mean it's fact. But when you don't know who you are, you're very quick to believe what people call you, what people label you. And so our belief system is very important. When you think about beliefs, they really represent all your experiences. They really reflect your range of interactions with people, the events that have occurred in your life. And unfortunately, a lot of times, as I said, the beliefs that you are holding on to is not even based in reality. It's based in the lack of awareness, self-awareness, to the point that just because someone said something, that you begin to accept it as that's your reality. That's your limits. Often when I'm doing career exploration with people, and they'll say, well, the guidance counselor told me I shouldn't go to college, I should go to trade school. Or the teacher told me I was dumb. Or unfortunately, sometimes families. And so you got to really be careful what words you're saying, how you describing. My mother called me stupid, or my daddy said I was dumb, or I don't know my daddy, or just a variety of experiences that have shaped the beliefs about that person. Oftentimes, young people, when they don't know their parents, and they would say, well, what was I not good enough? Why didn't he or she love me? You know, what was wrong with me? When they are taking the onus and the responsibility from the adult. And many times we don't see and we don't really recognize and remember that the only behavior you can control is your own. And most of the time, we can't even control our own behavior. So how dare us to think that we can control the behaviors of others? But many times we do. And we grab on to that, you know, oh, he or she left me because I wasn't. No, it's about the person. So we've got to get to this space that we realize you don't control the behaviors of others. Women, when I'm talking in women's retreats, they often get mad at me when I say, you know, I'm sick of hearing women saying that all men are no good, or, you know, all men can't be faithful, or, you know, and vice versa. But I tell them that people show you and tell you who they are, and you have to accept it. But it's in this believing that you somehow can change people's behavior, that you can be the inspiration for someone to change their behavior, but you can't motivate. So when people are talking about their motivational, you know, they motivational coaches, you might be an inspirational coach, but you can't motivate anybody to do anything. You can inspire them. Motivation is an intrinsic thing. You can provide the conversation, the tools, but people always make choices as to what they want. And so the quicker you recognize that, especially if you're in any kind of helping profession, if you're doing anything where you are working with people, you can inspire them, you can show them options. But this saying that you are, you know, and everybody's a motivational speaker now, everybody's a coach. And I deplore both of those words, because I know if you really look at the research, you can't motivate people to do a thing. You can inspire them. And everybody's a coach. And so now everybody has become a coach, and that is so watered down. So the value of that title has so weakened, because everybody's a coach now. And many times if you really look closely, they're not able to coach themselves in those areas. And so we have to be careful too, what we labeling ourselves and what we grab hold to, and where you're getting your information and your expertise from when people are telling you. So much of the guidance that you need divinely is inside yourself. But it's if you believe in yourself, and most of the time we don't. So when you're thinking about your, you know, your beliefs, they are linked to what you grow to value. And so many times when people are working with young people, and they say, well, you know, how am I going to change him from being violent? How am I going to change him from being with, or her from being with the gang? We have to really look at the experiences that that young person has had. With those of you that were asking about, you know, working in your programs or whatever you're doing, what has happened to shape that person that way? Because nobody is born saying, let me be a menace to society. Nobody is born saying, let me be a mass murderer. That doesn't happen. People become a reflection of their experiences, their trauma, their hurt. And if they don't take the effort to try to heal themselves, if they don't do the inner work, then what we see, what reflects outer, is that anger, is that hurt, that disappointment. I used to run an alternative program in the Virgin Islands. I've done a lot of work in prisons. And when you talk to people, particularly those that are really the most abusive, the ones that are the angriest, when you really get them, when you can calm them down in their talk, and they will talk with you, you will see that that person is hurting deeply. And those are expressions of hurt. And you really see that in young people. If you're running any kind of program, the young person who is acting out the most is hurting the most. And typically that person is waiting for some adult to say to them, why are you acting this way? What's really going on with you? And many times we are so taken aback from the behavior of the young person that's acting that way. You see it in adults as well, because many times, you see hurt young people that all they do is amass more hurt. And as they age, they get more and more angry. But these are all indicators of hurt, of broken belief systems, of trauma. So what we believe about ourselves ends up starting to shape our values, and the values reflect that. And here again, you see that start to play out in our behaviors. So when you think about a belief, if you would write down one thing you believe about yourself, one thing that you believe about yourself, and then it comes from your own thoughts and your own spirit, and it could just be one word. And across from that, I want you to write down one belief that someone said that over time you realize that that's not true, but you held on to it for the longest as though it was fact. We all do that until we grow into more self-awareness and self-knowledge and a confidence that I can be myself, that I don't need someone to define me. Because it doesn't matter what people say, because everybody has an opinion. And unfortunately, many times people who say things to you or about you, these are people who see something magnificent in you. But they've stopped dreaming, they've stopped hoping, they've stopped inspiring and really aspiring to achieve anything. And so, as it is, unfortunately, when they see that in you, there's a jealousy that just rises up. So they were like, well, what can I do to derail this person? So unfortunately, some people that are in your circle, sometimes you see it with family, they'll be like, man, you crazy. You're not gonna do that. Well, where you get that idea from, man? You better stick with what you know. You hear all of those kinds of things putting in your spirit. So you have to be careful what you share with folks. You got to really know who is a discourager, who's a naysayer, who's someone who has really grasped onto a spirit of hopelessness. Because the belief, it's that idea, it's something that you're holding in your mind, in your spirit, about yourself, about your possibilities. And so our beliefs, and unfortunately, many of the beliefs that you have, you acquire them during the formative years. You get them early. And if you don't do the inner work, if you don't do the work to nurture your inner spirit, you carry that with you into adulthood. When you think about your beliefs, some of them may come from culture. They may be norms in your family, norms in the locale that you grew up in. It may be, family norms. And you have to decide if that is a healthy norm and if it is something that you should hold on to, or if it is something that doesn't serve you well. Because just because something has been handed down historically does not make it good or correct. Just because you see maybe several generations and their behavior and it's become a way of life. It's become accepted behavior, but it doesn't make it right. And so, and this belief, and we're seeing this passed out in full measure with all of these women coming out and saying that they have been abused and they've carried it around and that pain. But because they believed that nobody would listen, nobody would believe them, they kept that hurt and that pain inside. You have, perhaps men, because men are socialized to believe that they shouldn't cry, they shouldn't show emotions, that you got to man up, that you have to behave a certain way. No, you behave the way that's comfortable for you, for that makes you comfortable in your own skin, not the definition with something that someone else. So our beliefs become so powerful in our ability to live and work, and it really impacts our beliefs as leaders. And so much of leadership is about the inner spirit, the inner heart. And if you read, and John Maxwell is one of my mentors, if you read any of John's books, they are very tied to spirit, to heart, to mindset, because part of leading is so much about that connection with people. It's about influencing people. And we all see, when you look at social media and the news, we see examples each and every day of good and bad leadership. Leadership that inspires and lifts people up, and we see leadership that takes people down a dark, dark trail. And this goes to beliefs. Some people believe that you follow the leader just by virtue of position power, that place that the leader holds on the org chart, even if the leader is corrupt, even if the leader is doing things that are detrimental. And they believe that because they are caught up where that person is on the hierarchy, where they are on the org chart. But they know that everything about that leader is so wrong. And this is why our world is in such a crisis right now, because we are in a leadership crisis in many forms and fashion. And it goes back to belief. Your belief, whether it is real or unreal, and I'm saying an unreal belief because that's what someone said. You heard someone talking about you, and they said a certain thing, and you, by virtue of that person's position of power, you say, well, oh God, that must be true because he is the president, he's the CEO, he's that, but that doesn't make it fact. So you have to think about, what am I really believing? Am I evaluating something when people share with you perhaps their feelings about you, their observations? But you have to do diligence and evaluate it and say, well, is this based in fact? Is what they're saying, is that really true? Is that an area I should work on to improve? Or is this just something that person is saying? So you have to really discern the difference before you grasp something and make it a part of who you think you are. Is this something real? Is this, something someone said? And is this like a potential belief, or is this really true? Because from those beliefs come indeed your values. What are your core values? You should know what your core values are. And your core values should radiate around you all the time. They shouldn't be something you pull out of your back pocket or your purse when you're in a certain room. Your core values should be constant, and they should be your own. That's your brand. And your core values are yours, and that should be who you are known as. But many times we let our core values kind of creep depending on what room we're in, who's in the room. But that says that your foundation is shaky. You wouldn't want to build your house on a foundation that was not strong, because you know that if you would build your house on a foundation that is sand, you know, let a great rain come, or let there be a hurricane, or let the tide rise, and your house is going to float away. So think about it. If you're building your whole spirit, your personality, your core values, if your beliefs are slippery, your values are going to be slippery as well. You're not going to be very ethical, and that's going to reflect in your behaviors. So you have to think about your beliefs, because they develop into your values. Do you value honesty? Do you value authenticity? What do you value as a person? Because that also will drift over into your values and how you function and what you believe as a leader. Because as I said, remember, you inspire people and you manage processes. Because you can't manage people. People often say, oh, well, if you know, people would perform better if I get better people, if I pay them more money. And so much research shows that money does not inspire people to be efficient and effective. Yes, we all want to make as much money as possible, but here again, it comes from the inside. People got to want to do great work. They want to contribute. It comes within. Now, you can create a culture. You can create a climate. You can feed into that person. If once you understand that person and what really ignites them, then you can inspire them to do what's necessary. And then they motivate themselves to do it. You are the inspirational fuel. And you have to remember that, because people get this confused. And you don't have to believe Dr. Defoe. You can do the research. And it will talk about how motivation is intrinsic. And so how, you know, when people say, oh, I'm a motivate your team. No, you might inspire the team. And you can go in and you can talk about it, but they have to motivate themselves, because even all that you want to do, in the end, that's the person has to do the work. You can't do it for them. So the best you can do is inspire them. And whatever your values are, those are your values. But you need to be able to articulate your values. And as I said, you don't want those back pocket values that you only bring out when you need them. And that leads to that, the attitude. What is your attitude? Because it goes back to the beliefs. And so when we're seeing young men and women, this next generation that don't value education, they may revere the streets. They may revere violence. They have listened to these the lyrics. That has become their belief system. That the only way you can make it is maybe I gotta be hard. I can't show any emotion. I gotta be tough. You brushed up against me, or you stepped on my sneaker, I gotta shoot you. This is a belief system that you see has been nurtured based up either on the experiences, that has been based upon what they have heard. Many times, some of the young people, if it hadn't happened in family, and when the peer group that they're with has socialized them to believe we got to be hard, we got to deal with issues with violence. This is all things that are playing around in the mind. So when you think about your attitude, what is your mental disposition? What do you think are your possibilities? What do you think you can accomplish? Because that really reflects in your behavior. And if you go back and look, it goes back to your core values and your beliefs. This is a circle. They walk hand in hand in hand. Your beliefs, your attitude, your values. They all are close friends. They are family. They're cousins. They hang with each other. And every time you can see the reflection of people by their behaviors. And often you find in situations, and this tells me whether someone knows and understands their core values. And this is probably when people start to act like others. If they're in a hostile room, and then before you know it, you acted hostile. You're not acknowledging your core values, or you somehow believe you got to mirror their behavior. But when you're comfortable in your own skin and you know what your beliefs are and you know what your core values, people can do whatever behavior they want, but you won't feel a need and you won't allow yourself to sink to that level with them, because you're going to be you. You're going to be your divine self. So you have to have that attitude where you know that you define yourself. You don't have to be a carbon copy of anybody. What you need to really be focused on is YOU. Everybody else is taken. You need to focus on yourself. So when you think about your values, researchers have found people that have great values, they have better outcomes in life. They're able to make better decisions in life and work. They just are able to navigate, and they're able to be more resilient. But if you don't have any values, if nothing, you just go with the flow, that reflects in the kind of behavior. If it also reflects in your peer group, who do you associate with? Who are your colleagues? Who are you considering your confidants? Those are often reflected in the kinds of people that you associate yourself with. And you always know often, you probably heard at some form, sometime, someone in your life said, well, birds of a feather, they flock together. And you often see, so when you see the kinds of, behaviors, now, not saying you can't go in and out of these groups, because you could be the inspirer to shift the behavior, but who is your core group? That might not be the group, because if you are a servant leader, if you're running any kind of programs, you often have interactions with people who you don't like their behavior. You don't like what they're doing. You may know that they are involved in the underworld, the street economies, but you may know that, but that doesn't preclude you from trying to impact their lives and their behaviors. You may be that inspirer to help them to shift. But when you have great values, you're able to overcome pain. You're able to be resilient. Those folks that don't have values, they often find themselves getting stuck. So know your core values, appreciate them, and be self-aware. Because when you're not self-aware, that means people can call you anything, tell you anything, and you believe what they say. And often, when you don't have that self-awareness, if somebody said, you're dumb, you're no good, you're not going to amount to anything, you don't know your father or your mother, you don't know this, you're not good enough. I mean, the list just goes on and on. When you don't have that self-awareness, then you believe what people say, and you find yourself ambivalent, and you find yourself really not able to make good choices because you don't know which way to go. And you find yourself with your behavior doing all kinds of things. And this is what we often see in young people that may be challenged because they don't have that self-awareness. And they go on with what the leader's saying. And you often see this when you see gang behavior. And the leader, while he or she is influencing, because that's what leaders do, but they influencing the person in a negative way. And that's when the balance is lost. So when you're seeing that, and you see it not only, with young people, but you often see it, with adults. This is how, some of the cult leaders that we have seen, the Jim Jones that was able to, to get hundreds of people to drink a poisonous drink. When you see behaviors like this, people have no self-awareness. They have low self-esteem. They have a belief system that is distorted. And so they believe anything that somebody tells them. So being self-aware is a critical first element, not only for your own personal growth, but your ability to lead others. So now, if you are not able to really hone in on your core values, you really are open to almost any kind of behavior. And we often see that when we see people that are really struggling, when we see them, their belief system, they don't believe that they are worthy. They don't believe that they can accomplish anything. They have somehow been made to feel by someone, something in their life journey to feel that they're worthless. And this has played out in their life achievement, in their expectations, and many times they have just given up. The United States, especially in the Black community, they have been shocked this past week by the suicide of Regina King's son. And on the outside, for everybody, they're saying this is someone who had access to everything, a very successful mother, access, I'm sure, to most material things that he would want. From reports I hear, was right on the cusp of his career taking off, but something was amiss. And many times, and unfortunately, and we're hearing more conversations about it during this season in our culture, and I find this in all cultures of people of African descent. We don't like to talk about mental health. We don't want to go and see psychiatrists and psychologists. We often say, well, I don't want anybody in my business. I'm not going to talk to anybody. And people often can see the behavior, so they know that the person is struggling. But I often ask people, when people say that, many times we are very uncomfortable talking about the struggles that we have, and it's easier to talk to a stranger. And so when I ask people, if your leg was broken, or your arm was broken, are you going to walk around with your arm or your leg dangling with the wound showing? Are you going to go and get it treated? And people always chuckle and say, well, Dr. Defoe, you crazy. But in the end, they say, of course, they're going to go to the doctor. So why, if you know that you are feeling sad, or you suffer with depression, or your spirit is broken because of loss, why wouldn't you go and see a psychiatrist? Why wouldn't you go and see a psychologist? Why wouldn't you not go and get help? And then they they stop and they think with pause. And when you think about that, that's the core belief that many of us see, and we see it play out. And so we have to think about, often on the outside, what people are portraying, that it doesn't really reflect what's going on truly in the inside. That person could be hurting. But the more when you have clear core values, then you're able to really maneuver through life's ups and downs, and you're able to really weather storms. And when you think about it from a spiritual perspective, if you see this circle, if you start with the right view and the right mindset, that will lead you to the right intentions. And the more and more you can get intentional about your life and your work, the more impactful you will be, and you'll be able to accomplish your outcomes that you want in life and in work. But you got to be focused and divinely intentioned. And if you have the right intentions, then you're going to speak right. You will be guided by that right view, that mindset in all your words, because that's what you focused on. That will lead you to the actions. What actions align with my view, with my beliefs, that really reflect who I am? And when you take the right actions, you become more likely to accomplish what it is. If you align, if you're thinking right, you have your intentions aligned with that, you're speaking as you should, from that positive mindset, you're going to take the right steps. Your intentional outcomes, you're very likely to hit them, and you will achieve the effect that you want. You will be able to concentrate, and you will know that you are in alignment, and you will have that mindfulness because you're all aligned. And this is an eightfold pathway to really getting rid of that ambivalence, to feeling self-assured, and to know that whatever your divine assignment is, that there are people and places waiting for you to get on the right path and accomplish it, because somebody needs you. Somebody needs what it is you have in your heart and your mind to create. Somebody right now, somewhere in the world, is waiting for all of you to get fully aligned and accomplish whatever it is, your goal, your dream, whatever it is, your aspiration, the impact that you want to have. People are waiting on you. So what has happened? What is limiting the beliefs you have about yourself? What are those beliefs as you're thinking about manifesting you in 2022? What is it you need to get rid of? What do you need to pull yourself away from and get out of the crab bucket and get away from the masses? What is it that you need to pull yourself away from and change? Because when you change your beliefs, you're going to change your results. So that may be, not saying that you can still be with those people there, but sometimes you're pulled out to be alone, to think alone, and sometimes you have to walk alone. But that's what leaders do. Leaders are not always with the masses. Sometimes the leader is a follower. But in leading your life, leading your company, because your first and foremost, your first company is YOU Incorporated. And how are you leading that company? How are you leading yourself? Because if you're letting the inner critic tell you you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, that you're not going to accomplish, you are really sabotaging your own company. And that company is why you incorporated. So you have to ask yourself, my beliefs, my values, my habits, my behavior, are they serving me well? Or are they limiting what I can do, what I can be? So our limiting beliefs, when you think about them, and sometimes when we're doing this, you got to go back way, way, way back to think about you, because you want to get to the root cause of why you might be mean to yourself, or why you think bad about yourself, or why you think that you're not good enough or worthy enough. And you have to start with childhood experiences, because from 0 to 5, even though kids, as kids, we may not be taught, we are learning to talk, but we are very aware of our environments, our experiences. And did you experience trauma during your early childhood, or were you triumphant? And when you look at that, that gives some insights to the early belief systems that you might be carrying with you now. And so you have to reflect and think about, what do I think? And where did I get this from? When you look at, the belief experiences, your early experiences lead to your beliefs, and those created your feelings. And then those feelings end up thinking about, what I am, what I can be, what are my possibilities. And it came from those experiencing the things that you experienced back in those days when you were a child. So often the limiting beliefs that we often hold on to is, I'm not enough, I don't matter. Many times we feel we're not worthy. Something has happened, or someone says something that you feel you're not worthy of the success, or that you won't accomplish it, or that it's not possible. You may start to feel, well, I can't really rock the boat, so let me just stay here with the group and do what the group says, because I don't want to make waves. And many times we allow ourselves to be taken down a very negative path because we didn't want to be the dissenting voice. And I've seen this happen even when people know that where the group is headed is wrong and won't say a word because they don't want to rock the boat. They don't know how it's going to be taken. But they allow themselves to be taken adrift with everybody else. When you think that you're not enough, you somehow have allowed somebody to put that in your spirit. You're listening to the negative talk, the inner critic. And often we feel like, whatever we experience, whatever, shortfalls we might have experienced, that somehow has made us less worthy than someone else. You got to let that go. You might feel, well, I got to pay the price. I don't know. I might lose his or her friendship if I say something. Maybe I just got to go with the flow. Is it really, really worth it? And then when you don't speak, when you don't advocate for yourself, it really makes us feel bad. And not saying that you have to be mean or disrespectful to someone, but you got to know your value. As I said, you don't want to have back pocket values that you only pull out now and then. When you're thinking about how you transform your limiting beliefs, first you got to identify where they came from, who said them, why are you holding on to them? What are those negative feelings that you have about yourself? And then how are you going to shift them? Because you will find that much of you holding on, how you defining yourself, most of it comes from someplace else. You have taken something that someone has said, or that they've done, or they put in your space for you to think about, and you took it on as facts. That couldn't be further from the truth. And so we have got to become self-aware so that we don't do that, that you don't let these outside things define you, and that you don't grasp hold to them and believe them, because that is the way that you get derailed from being your true divine self. So you want to think about how to change your belief system, or how you want to help somebody that you might be working with to change theirs. You really want to get to the root cause. Where did that belief come from? And many times when I've worked with young people and I talk to them, and they'll say, well, my mom said it, or my dad said it, or the teacher said it. Unfortunately, sometimes they say, well, they said it at church, or they said it at work, and I believed it, but they told me that I couldn't. And so the person doesn't even try anymore because somebody said it, and they put that in that in their fear. It put it in their mind, and they believed it. You want to focus on whatever those limiting beliefs are, whatever it is. What can you do? Maybe, it's overcoming something that you're fearful about it. Or maybe, you got to step and reflect. But when you know who you are, people can say whatever they want. You don't have to respond to it. But when you don't know who you are, you believe almost anything that people say. And saying, oh, they must be right. You want to build your skills. And you want to kind of change your belief system. Get rid of that the old mindset. Try new things. You want to try to change your perspective. And often, if you really stop, when somebody comes and says you have an idea for a product or service or a program or something in your life or work, and they say, man, that's crazy, that ain't gonna work. And then you stop and reflect. And the person who's telling you that, they're not doing anything but sitting at home flicking the remote. And they're telling you what's gonna work or what's possible. And you listening to them. So I don't know what's worse, them or you. Because if you listening to someone and they're not doing anything, they haven't moved 1 foot, taken 1 step, and here they advising you that you should shut down your idea. You have to ask yourself, and I'm looking in the mirror, if anybody does that, I have to ask you what's up. Not so much the person for saying that, because people go say, but why would you believe that person? Why would you let them define what you can do and they're doing nothing? And many times we do that. And we often, it doesn't matter how many times, you have a setback. You look at it, you evaluate it, and then next time I do this, I'm going to change the process. It doesn't matter. Think about it. We wouldn't have light if Thomas Edison had stopped at 999 and didn't go to that next step. And when people would pick on him, he would say, those were the steps to get to here. You follow the process. Very rarely does something happen in the first try. I often laugh when people talk about Jeff Bezos. He was the talk in Miami because he started there in his basement. When you look at people, you start somewhere, and look at Amazon, Lord, Amazon, everything. Amazon, he started with books, and now look, Amazon sells everything. So it doesn't matter how long it takes you. It's a process. There's a season. The hardest thing for all of us is taking that first step, getting started. There is no land of perfection. And many times we say, well, when this, and this happens, that's when I'm going to start. Get rid of the if-when life, because there is no state of perfection. When you get something, you can always make it better. But the hard thing for us as individuals and as leaders is getting started. We always say, I don't have enough money. I don't have enough people. I don't have enough education. Stop it. That couldn't be further from the truth. If you have the resources, you have the ideas, if you start to build it, I'm telling you, resources will come your way. I was on a call yesterday with someone about this dream project of mine, and we're working steadily. And so someone, they so like the idea, they say they would invest their time and money. This is a multi-million-dollar app builder. And he was saying, you got all the pieces there. This is what I would do, and start it. And so many times we don't get out of the starting block waiting. We're waiting, to make sure that we got on the right outfit, that we got the best sneakers, that we got all the pieces in place before we get into the starter. Come on. No. That 86 4,000 seconds you got, don't waste your time. We're in a season that we see it. There is a sense of urgency, that there is no time to waste. We have got to be in the now. Don't put your idea. We are already in the 28th day of 2022. And we know February is a short month. So the first quarter will be gone and quickly. And many of us are still talking about the strategy. We still saying we getting ready. We gonna do it. And so something is limiting your belief that you can get it going. Start. If you take one action, if you do something each and every day, you are making progress. So when I said, think about what might have happened in your early childhood, what has happened in your journey to this day that someone has said or done, or what you have experienced that make you feel that you're not good enough, that you can't make whatever it is you need to happen. Because the quicker you're able to figure that out, not only your growth as an individual, but your ability as a leader. Because inspiration takes spirit. And if your spirit is broken as a leader, how are you going to lead somebody else? Or if what happens is, as a leader, you're broken, so then you start breaking people and you just contribute to their brokenness. So you want to make sure that you are not leading, that you're not going in there fully wounded. If you are trying to inspire people, you have got to work on your spirit each and every day. And what has been found, and these are just things to think about, that in those early child experiences, especially for young people, that children that have lived in poverty, that the trauma that they've seen, the murders, the drug dealing, the violence, that some of this traumas, particularly from 0 to about 6, it really is very impactful, because from 0 to 6, really 0 to 5, we're like sponges. And this is why they often say 0 to 5, you can teach a child another language, you can teach them to swim, because their capacity to learn from 0 to 5, even as they're developing, is really tremendous. And there's a book called You're What You Think, and the book says that unless a child is born, with a mental health or some health issues that precludes it, he or she is able to become a genius by just of the parent nurturing and feeding them with all kinds of information. But what happens is, what they have found with extensive research, is that the parent is who ends up dumbing down the child, because of the limiting beliefs of the parent or whoever's the caregiver, and the fact that they have this limited mindset, they pass it on to the child. So when folks are nurturing, and if they are wounded, and this is partially why we're perhaps seeing so many challenges with this next generation, is because we have seen in this last decades, so many children having children. And many a times they didn't get nurturing, or they are not self-sufficient, so they're not able to care for the child. And so you see this cycle. And so what it is found is that when you have struggled with these stressors in the early ages, that trauma that is very, very, very impactful. And this starts to shape or misshape the belief system. And so when you see and you're thinking about programs you may be doing, you may see this. And so this is why often also the research says that everybody just needs one person, one inspirer, one person that serves as a mentor that uplifts them, that can help them to get beyond what they might have had to contend with in these early days. Some that, they may be the homelessness or food insecure. All of these things impact. There's two kinds of mindset when it comes to the impact of poverty on belief systems. And here again, and I'm only just throwing this out for your thoughts, because you'll see this in people that are on your team. You'll see it in their behaviors. You'll see how they function on the team. Now, there's two mindsets. There's some with the harsh, which they just want to attribute it to the personal problems and say that it's the individual, and it's something with the individual's behavior, that they're not putting out the effort, or they have a low morale. And then there's others who feel that it's structural, that it is because of the society that we live, systemic racism, unequal access to opportunity, that all of that some of either both of these could possibly impact the early experiences that lead to the belief systems that form and that people carry as adults. When we allow those self-limiting beliefs to fester, then it really hampers our ability and our prospects for the future. We're not able to really manifest. We're not able to really, as I said earlier, to get out of the starting gate. So you want to think about how that's impacted. If you're running any program, some of you have mentioned, things that you're doing with families. You really have to think about how you can strengthen that family and help them to become self-sufficient, because unfortunately, there's a growing body of research that is showing that poverty really changes the way the child's brains develop. And I always am so sad when I read this extensive work and research that is showing and really demonstrating how trauma. And unfortunately, I've seen this when I've worked with people that are incarcerated. Usually about 70 to 80% of them have had some kind of trauma, life trauma that really happened in early childhood. So we cannot undervalue just the negative impact that trauma has and the experiences have on people and our mindsets and our what we believe about ourselves and our abilities. And so when you're thinking about, if you lead in programs, you lead in groups, and you lead in teams, you'll see some of this. You may see an adult man or woman sitting there, but in their heart and spirit, you see you dealing with a 10-year-old. In some instances, a 5-year-old, because of some of the trauma, some of the things that they're bringing in the room with them. So when you want to think about how you can shift from the limiting beliefs and how you want to really manifest, because we do manifest what we believe, you have to say, who am I? Who do I want to become? What are my growth opportunities for improvement? In the quality world, They don't say strengths and weaknesses. And often people be talking about what their weaknesses are. In the quality world, ISO 9000, that is global. Every program, every place has whatever they call their quality assurance. They call it opportunities for improvement. And so that's what everybody should say. What are your opportunities for improvement? Don't claim a weakness, because so much power is in the words that we use. Everybody has an opportunity for improvement. Personal growth never stops. So stop, saying, I'm not good at this. My weakness is that. Stop saying that. Get rid of that negative talk. Understand yourself. Know the things that you're great at, and know the things that you want to improve on. Understand yourself and accept yourself right now. Don't live the if-when life. Don't say life gonna start when you accomplish something. You living right now. So enjoy the right now. So get to understand yourself. Get rid of those limiting thoughts. Know that your possibilities are really endless. The only thing that when something becomes impossible is when you choose to quit. If you make up your mind that there's something you want to do, you keep working at it and you keep pursuing it. You are the only person that will limit you. I have found in hostile environments, two things make people, even if they don't like you because of your gender, the pigment of your skin, data and dollars or nairas or whatever your currency. Those two things will shift the room. They may not even like you, but those two things, because when they see the data and they see whatever the currency, and they see a win-win, it shifts the room. And people don't have to like you for you to partner or whatever. If it's value added to you, if it makes sense business-wise. So whatever limiting thoughts you have, get rid of them. But to manifest something, you first and foremost got to be clear about what it is you want. If you don't know what you want, if you don't know what you want to accomplish, then you just in a boat sailing, letting the tide take you wherever you want to go. You got to be clear on what it is you want to. And then once you want it, then you put your ask out there. Once you do it and you start taking the steps, the valley, and this is really, and I can attest to the law of attraction, things will come your way. And you want to make consistent efforts. You want to do what you can, and you want to position yourself so that you're ready to access and you're ready to recognize opportunity and the resources when they come in your way. Know that it's possible. Believe in yourself. If you don't have faith in yourself, why do you think someone else is? Believe that you can accomplish it. The positive affirmations. Get rid of that negative talk. Get rid of I'ma try. Last time I did this, I made a mistake. Get rid of it. Listen, because if you're doing that right view, as I said, you start speaking right. You don't need to talk about what it is you don't want, you don't want. You need to say, oh, I'm an example. I have great health. Don't go and say, I got aches and pains, or I'm broke. No, you're not broke. You may be cash strapped at the moment, but watch what you're saying. You want to acknowledge the small wins, acknowledge it. Everything has a recipe. Respect the process, acknowledge it. And then you want to remain patient because it will come. But if you stop and start, if you let yourself get derailed with disbelief, if I don't care if you get, knocked down and you stumble 100 times, get up, keep getting up. Because if you really build a strong foundation in your life with beliefs that you can accomplish whatever it is you desire to. It will come your way. But it's what you believe about yourself, what you believe about your possibilities. I hope that this sharing kind of as a part two from Manifest You in 2022, and the questions that some of you had for me last Friday about beliefs and changing people's mindsets and what you could do. I hope this gave you some further insight. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to step into the Class of Steel circle with you. And if you have any questions for me, I am open to entertaining them. And I will turn it back over to His Excellency Bishop Steele. And I say to all of you in the Class of Steel, don't let somebody else's beliefs become yours. Create your own belief system about yourself. Embrace your goodness. I hear ministers all the time in many services have said, that God doesn't make junk. So he didn't make any junk. Divinely, you have an assignment. So you don't want to bury your talent in the ground and let it just vanish. Know who you are. Believe in what you can do. Build a strong foundation for yourself, because what we believe about ourselves is so powerful, and what we believe and what we accept can help us to soar to new heights. Thank you.
Come on, Class of Steel. Let's kind of give her a Class of Steel thank you and celebration. I sat and I took copious notes, even here, reminders, refreshers, added knowledge. And Dr. Defoe, you continue to do a great work in sharing with us here in the Class of Steel. One thing that jumped out at me from your discourse, amongst a whole lot of things, but one single thing that jumped out at me is what struck me really yesterday. One of my very best friends have passed away yesterday because of COVID, and it derailed me slightly. I was all emotional, and I was looking around my circle to see who could I call and cry with. That sounds weird, but I wanted somebody, because when you live your life with so many people that expect you to be strong, they expect you to be able, they expect you to, when they hear your voice, you have good news or encouragement, there's still a reality that when difficult times come, you hurt and you feel pain. So when you said that thing about men are not supposed to cry, come on, get over that. I smiled, because that one actually struck a very serious chord with me, because yesterday I can assure you that I spent a good bit of time in tears at the loss of my very good friend. With that being said, I want to hand over, greet His Royal Majesty. Your Majesty, you're very welcome this evening. We acknowledge you in the class, and we will give honor to allow you, if you would like to make a comment or ask a question to Her Excellency Dr. Defoe, before we go on to the others this evening. Your Royal Majesty, if you have any questions or comments, please, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Good evening, His Excellency Dr. Steele. Good evening, all His Excellencies here, and good evening, Dr. Shaw. What an interesting topic this evening. Very interesting, actually. You struck me when you talk about believing in ourselves, not letting anyone to determine what you believe in, but then be aware of whom you are. Stand by it. It will lead you into a positive thinking coming out of yourself. Yeah, I really enjoy this evening listening to your lessons. I'm really blessed. And I hope all of us in the class had the same understanding of the teaching because it's a very thorough one, and the way we always come back to lay your emphasis on the beliefs and what they need to believe is another thing. I don't think I'll forget that in a hurry. Thank you, Dr. Fo. And yeah, it's a pleasure this evening.
It's my pleasure.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so very much, Your Majesty. Thank you so very much, Your Majesty, for your submission this evening. I want to hand over the remainder of the discussion session to Her Excellency Doreen Burunji, our COO. And Your Excellency Doreen, you can moderate the question and response session for Her Excellency Dr. Defoe, please. Over to you, Your Excellency Doreen Burunji.
Good evening, Your Excellency, Dr. Michael Steele, First Lady Jenny Steele, Your Excellency, Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe, all the excellencies in the house. I would like to first thank Her Excellency, Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe, for the topic that has really been so deep. I've been really taking copious notes, and everything that she shared, really, I relate with it on my day-to-day life. The topic tonight was the power of belief. What I know that the power of belief can change who you are, can influence. She said that leadership is all about being able to influence and also to lead yourself. When you lead yourself well, then you can actually influence others. People begin to take notice of who this person is. Why is so and so like this? So I would like to affirm that because of Dr. Michael Steele's leadership and Jenny Steele's leadership is why we are here. His leadership, and together with Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe, is the one that causes us to come every single time that there is a class of Steele and also the other classes that we are attending. Thank you very much for making that notified. Believing in yourself, belief. If you believe in yourself, then you are not afraid of bringing what you believe in yourself for other people to see. What you believe, what you want, what is inside of you is what you have to manifest. So belief is a very important word, and we take it oftentimes very lightly. Sometimes belief can be positive, sometimes it can be negative. It's not easy for one to discover that their belief is probably the one that is causing them not to prosper. Yes. So like a class like this tonight, I'm sure some of us are going to shake off so many things in our lives. You might find that your belief is hindering you from going forward, from developing, from starting, by the way. Starting is a very difficult thing. She mentioned that those very people who discourage you are usually people who have not even started anything on their own. They have not started anything of their own. Probably they are just employees. They can't try anything on their own. So they said, but how can you try out this? How can you, like, for example, like me, I had a belief that I will go out of Uganda and set up offices in different countries and I can exist. I also believed that I can be put anywhere in the world and I will still flourish. I don't necessarily have to be in Uganda. I have a belief that I have the capability that if I learn in the UK, I can start my own business and it will flourish. And that one has been very evident that I left my country And I went to DRC in a country which I don't speak their language. I don't speak their language. I didn't know French. I didn't know Swahili. I didn't know Lingala, but I had a belief that that company will be established. So, but there were so many people who actually discouraged me, so many, that when I left, I spent only 3 months out of my country. And everyone was like, no, she can't have gone. Where did she go? Whom is she with? Did she really go to do what she said she would do? I came back and they said, can you send us the documents? Send us, have you really done it? I say, yeah. You have a company? Yes. I sent the documents and we're like, wow, well done. And it kept existing. So belief, if the belief is good, it is always to say, she said, you need to walk alone. You need to step out of the circle and go head on and say, I will follow my belief. I will need, like I had to prepare myself. When I was going to Congo, I planned to study French for 6 months. I prepared for my destiny to go to DRC. I said, what do I need to do? I had to take some lessons for me to be able to move. But that is what I believe. I could not stop. I could not stop unless I achieved it. So my belief is, this topic has been a blessing to me because I'm at the verge of my life where I am redoing what I already did many years ago. And I need to believe beyond belief that I will perform better than the previous years I had never seen, because I have to succeed no matter what, no matter what. It has not been easy. You know, when you're younger, you have a lot of energy. You have a lot of help and stuff. But if you're going to do it at this age of mine again, it's not an easy thing. You have to self-encourage yourself. You have to speak. You have to have affirmations of your life that you can actually get it back on track and let it be better than. You have to be a testimony. You have to be an influencer. You have to influence others who have probably tried and failed. And you tried again and you succeeded. So you'll be an influencer. Many people you will be written about. You will be called, generally, I'm going to be famous. But that's what I can say, that I need to succeed. They must know I went to the bottom and I went out of it and I flourished in the cities. So belief, I thank you so much, Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe, for this topic. If your belief has been crushed, I believe that you're going to believe again now. There are people in the class of steel who are live examples of probably of being at the bottom, and they're going to do it again, like me, because I'm here in the class of steel for a long haul. I want the class of steel people to see me when I was down, when I am improving, and when I'm at the top. So I want us to encourage ourselves. Let's cheer one another and encourage ourselves wherever we are. It could be business, it could be ministry, it could be marriage, it could be anything. It could be academics, you want to achieve something. You should say, continue to do it. Continue to believe that you can do it. Failure to do it, then you have lost. You have failed in life. So this is my submission, Your Excellency, Dr. Michael Steele. I am so grateful for tonight's class. And personally, it's what I needed at this time in my life. Thank you so much, very much. Thank you all members of the class of Steel for coming tonight. And I wish you a good night. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Your Excellency. I want to ask Dr. Charles for your comment or your submission, please. Dr. Charles, please.
Good evening, Your Excellency, Dr. Michael Steele, and the engine room in which Dr. Michael Steele is empowered. That is Lady Jenny Steele. You have been so wonderful, Ma'am, and the rest of the excellencies in the house. My dear big sister, Your Excellency, Dr. Anita Defoe, you really touched a lot of things, but I will just pick on two things. I comment on one and then ask a question on one. You mentioned that your belief reflects how you interact with people. Yeah, I catch this because there has been a controversy in religious field in Nigeria here. A certain powerful man of God arose, won so many converts, and told them, don't ever interact with other believers. Don't enter into any other church. Don't you ever go to your community and sit down with anybody, that they will corrupt you. He kept on hammering, stand out from them. Be you separated. And believe you me, every December that people are supposed to travel home to meet their kingsmen, he will fix a program till 4th January. Likewise, Easter and the rest. Along the line, he really succeeded. And then there is a way we know they are members. If you greet this person, good morning, he will frown at you. Then you will say, this person is from this particular church. Because that was the belief system that was inculcated into them. And it became negative on them. To the extent that everybody began to talk that these people does not even know the Bible. Do they actually read the Bible? What did Jesus talk about people relating with one another? So, and I believe that is still the same thing. As you mentioned that once a person accepts a belief as a truth, they are willing to defend it. And we discovered that when the members begin to defend the stand of their Jew, everybody saw how blind they were. So it became a problem until recently, some of them began to study the Bible on their own and they listen to other people's preaching. Then before you know what is happening, a lot of people began to leave that denomination and being converted into another. Every day he will begin to cry, this person is lost, this person is lost, this person is lost. He has backslided because he has started accepting other values and being themselves and reason along the line of truth. And then that's my contribution. And then my question is, you said something, and I believe this helps me, and this is what I believe so much. It has been something that is bothering me. You talked about that self-awareness or self-development makes a leader. I discovered that the biggest problem we have in Africa is that we have leaders, even to the post of presidency, who does not know where leadership is going at all. And these same people want to take people to the promised land. They don't know where the promised land is. I remember there was one past president that made a blunder. And when the Senate was questioning him, he said, we are in a learning process. And one senator stood up and said, we are not learning. I, Dr. Chuba Okadibo, was a professor, and I taught politics in America and so many countries and in Nigeria here, and you say we are learning, you should have said you are learning. And if you are learning, that position is not for learners. So, Dr. Defoe, do you think that this is the problem we have? The reason why Africa is underdeveloped? Because learners are occupying the seat of leaders. The people that does not know where to go wants to take people to somewhere. Thank you, ma'am.
Well, clearly you need a leader. You need a leader with some level of expertise while we all grow, and we all have opportunities to learn. But it's twofold. That part of it is you have learners that are trying to learn on the job, but you also have I take it up further. You have unethical learners that are willing to sell their souls and the souls of the people that they're leading for their own benefit. And unfortunately, I see it across Africa. You see it in too many places across the Caribbean. We've seen it in full effect in America. And we see it even in the example that you gave. When the leader has no core values, when the leader is unscrupulous, when the leader is using the influence that he or she has to take people to their promised land, as you said, and people have not done any research on their own, that they just following blindlessly, like you mentioned there at the church. You're right. That's part of the problem. You look at Haiti. I mean, when you look at leadership, and leadership can be because as John teaches us, me, and you see it in both of the examples that you gave, leadership is influence. That he talks about, that's what it is, simple. And you gave an example where at the church, people were being led just by that influence until they start doing due diligence on their own. And many times you see, particularly in the faith-based sector, people they forget about the Bible and they get caught up in the charisma of the man or the woman leading. And the Bible is put on the back burner. And so it was interesting as I was listening to you say, once they start reading the Bible, then they realized what was going on. But to your real question, you're right. You have untrained leaders who either by influence or hook or crook or whatever have been propelled to the office of the highest office in the land, and they don't have a clue how to lead people, and the leadership power that they have, they're using it in a negative form of fashion. And corruption and selling off the souls. There's no way in the world as just the bounty, the treasures, everything that is there in Africa. Should Africa as a nation be struggling as it is people hurting, the less opportunities, the access. There's no way with you look at all of the mineral, everything, all of the wealth, everything that is there with Mother Africa. The quality of life that people have there, it should not be. And you got to look at the leader, because it goes back to what John teaches, the law of the lid. And I see that with African leaders. So you're right. If you got a leader that's functioning at level 2, and this goes back to learning on the job, they're not going to be able to take the country to a level 10, because all they know is what they know at level 2. And that's part of the problem. So you take limited knowledge and experience and put that, with a negative mindset, unethical mindset, you got trouble. And that's what we see in Africa and other places of the world. Look at America. America's struggling now. America is on the brink of collapse. People see it, they're afraid of it. We're corruption and the lack of leadership. But no, you're spot on. You can't learn on that job. You need somebody seasoned. Yes, they might make mistakes and they'll learn, but when you have somebody trying to learn on the job, they're incompetent and unprepared, and they are unethical. That's a dangerous combination. And I'll just stop there.
Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much, Your Excellency. For the sake of time, I'm gonna leave that alone. I think you dealt with it good. I want to ask Stephen Abu. Stephen, would you please unmute yourself and share your thoughts and comments, please?
Yeah. Thanks for this, sir. Your Excellency, Dr. Mike Steele, Your Excellency, Jenny Steele, the Excellencies around, and Your Excellency, Dr. Defoe. Thanks for the topic. One critical thing that caught me is the threefold things. It said your belief brings about your personality, and your personality brings about your attitude. What we've been discussing is a whole lot of things. The core values that we have. What are the core values? What are beliefs? Our belief system gives value, gives birth to core values that we have as individuals. And I began to look at my life, even personal experiences. How do I have integrity? Do I have a personality that sees possibilities in all things? What is my belief? What did I start with? What were my building blocks of belief? What were my building blocks of attaining a life of a do or die life of making it? What's my core value, building blocks of core belief values, which I've got over the years as a kid, as I grew up? What are the things, the blocks that have been kept in place for me to be who I am today? And what am I saying? What are my results? What are my attitude, my character now? So I began to, develop lives and trying to see why people misbehave, because their belief system is wrong, entirely wrong. And they believe they do the things they do because it's embedded in them. It has become like a character, and it's due to their belief values, the building blocks of their life. Their parents, from their guidance, and they taught them right from when they were small that these things were not, they were not wrong. So they're exhibiting what they think were not wrong. So a family system which is false, can bring about have a belief system that is wrong, can bring out an attitude that is wrong in the society. So and this captured me now. It brought me back to why men and women that grew up through the systems in Africa, in Nigeria, in the 80s, in the 70s, in the 80s, and in the early 90s, they have a great result of integrity, personality, and it differs now with the new century people we have. What are the building blocks? What are we that are the parenting for them? What are we, the individuals, building more for our children in the future? So it's really quite interesting, and I want to commend Her Excellency Defoe for that. I'm quite fascinated this night. Thank you, sir, for this time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you so very much for your submission. Dr. Defoe, are you able to take one or two more comments? The time is now 1 minute before the hour of 9 p.m. here in the UK. You're okay for one or two more comments, Dr. Defoe?
One, and then I must go to my next appointment, but I can take one or two.
Okay. Anybody has a burning question or comment that you would like to put to Her Excellency Dr. Defoe? Is there anybody that has a quick question? Okay. All right, looking okay. Your Excellency Jeannie, would you like to share your last thoughts so that we can wrap up this evening's session, please?
Good night to everyone. Blessings upon you and your household and your communities as well. I want to just say thank you to Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe for her delivery. She is always quite thorough in what she delivers to us, what she teaches us, and it's always very impactful. It's always thought-provoking, and it's always mind-changing. And I thank her for that. I thank her for all the input that she, delivers into what she is bringing to us. I also thank you all for being here tonight and look forward to seeing you on Monday. I want to wish you all and your families, your communities a safe and a wonderful weekend. God bless you all.
All right. Well, thank you so very much, Your Excellency Dr. Defoe, for a very wonderful session this evening. And we look forward to seeing everyone. Those who are going to join us tomorrow, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow with the youth. And then on Sunday, for my little family, that we're having a really good time developing together. And this Sunday, I will speak. His Excellency Dr. Ewers has an engagement, so I will be with you on this Sunday. And then on Monday, again, we resume the class of steel. With that being said, thank you so very much for being with us. I'm Dr. Michael Steele on the behalf of the management team of the class of steel, Her Excellency Dr. Anita Davis-Defoe. Thank you guys and have a fantastic weekend. And remember, what you believe can cause you to either achieve or, as a matter of fact, achieve. If you believe you can achieve success, you'll achieve success. If you believe that you will not be successful, you will not be successful. So I think whatever you believe will govern the outcome that you receive. Thank you so very much for being with us. Good evening and God bless.
Bless everybody.
Bye-bye, Doctor. Bye, Dr.
Thank
Defoe.
you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Good
Night,
night.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye, Margaret.
Bye-bye.
Yeah,
Good
bye-bye.
evening. Have a good
Bye-bye.
evening.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Dr. Charles, thank you so very much for your submission. You do put a smile on my face.